Hello and welcome everyone to the Cosmic Concerto. My name is William Hill, and on the other end is.
Brandon Harris, and I'm telling you to stay a while and listen.
All right. And you know what? That's exactly what was missing from Diablo 3, I swear.
Yeah, it was. That was. I don't know what they were thinking about leaving out that line, but it
But I
ruined
don't
that
re-
game.
but I don't remember it being in Diablo 2 that much either. So I don't know.
uh,
Maybe I'm wrong. But we're not talking about Diablo tonight. Instead, everyone, we are talking about the soundtrack to Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, as was released with the collector's edition of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Tactical espionage action, because there's so many words on this title, it's
yeah,
hard to
I
tell what order they
know.
go in. So,
It's like they're going for the longest name in history.
I'm pretty sure if we looked hard enough in Japanese role playing games, we'd find a longer title. Subtitle, subtitle, subtitle. Anyway, the soundtrack that we're going to be discussing is the one disc version that came with the collector's edition rather than the two disc version that is otherwise released. We don't have that one, and we're not really going to judge the album too much based on the lack of those other tracks, or at least I'm not, because it seems if what we're reading is right, it's all of the Harry Gregson-Williams tracks,
Uh huh. Plus one.
right, plus one, rather than all of the other tracks that are on the soundtrack. So we're going to discuss this for this composer's work very specifically, and let's dive right in. First off, I'm this is one of those scores where I really like what's here, and I love the game. I mean, for whatever reason, I love that horrible mismatch of um, absolutely horrible editing in a script, and that by that I mean there's just too much dialogue. And I love the gameplay, and the music in the game itself is it's appropriate for the kind of game that you are playing. Now, what that means for the soundtrack is that we have a lot of electronic music, we have Marshall snares, we have the American action movie music score
Yes, we
happening.
do.
But in between, but this is all actually in between book endings of like really well, rather emotional music, for lack of a better term. Um, but Brandon, your opening comments on this album, because I'm pretty sure anybody who's listening to the show already realizes we discussed this a little bit on and off, while we're listening to the scores preparing for the show.
Yes.
We're less. It seems like we're going to agree a little bit less on this one than we usually do.
Oh, yes, mostly because this album has that problem that I think modern soundtracks do when it comes to the score, and because of I understand why the guy is American. Usually does movies, so of course his soundtrack going to be very movie like. And while I'm playing the game, it does work. Of course it works. It keeps the action very exciting. You're very kind of on your edge of your seat, but outside that environment, I'm I'm like I really don't want to listen to most of this.
It's
Uh,
and you're exact. That's the weird thing is like I'm gonna completely agree with everything you just said, but I'm going to kind of disagree with you. Whenever I want to listen to this kind of thing, and it's not something I'm always going to want to listen to, it's really good. It's the and for those who haven't played the game or heard the soundtrack, and you might want to listen to it after this, who knows? Here's exactly what you're going to get with about half of the music on this score. It's the electronic drums, like the electronic percussion, not like techno or anything, but like the that very specific boom 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 kind of like percussion with very short orchestral movements, like big, heavy brass and strings kind of stuff. Vum, 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 kind of stuff. So you get that for about half the soundtrack.
yeah.
And it's exactly like he said. It works so well for the game. And if I really want to listen to this kind of thing, and it's not something I really want to listen to most of the time, but like whenever I'm in the mood for this kind of thing, it really hits the spot. Now, That said, that's not all that we have on the soundtrack. The other half of the soundtrack is the only phrase I can really describe it with is it sounds like an Ennio Morricone score. Excuse me, Morricone. I looked up, I made sure to listen to the pronunciation so it wouldn't sound like an idiot. And now I kind of do.
Yeah, you
But
just butchered an Italian name.
I'm sorry, Italy. You're an awesome country, regardless. Great food, great music, great history, great art. Thank you very much. But I can't pronounce it because I'm a stupid American guy, as we've already discussed several times on the previous 3 or 4 episodes we've done. But I guess we kind of have the same thing with Silent Hill Shattered Memories, where you have a very distinct sound on the beginning and end, and then in the middle you have all the action parts. I'm going to ask this just so I know. Did you just hear a Facebook chime?
No.
Okay, good, because Facebook is open on my browser and it just made noise. So, okay, let's continue. Let's get back into this. Now, you say you don't like the American action movie music, which let's face it, Metal Gear Solid, if it's going to have a modern sounding score, if it's going to have a score on the PS4, it was going to be composed and orchestrated and all that stuff. So you kind of have to expect a series that was originally inspired by 80s action films going so far as to reference a scene from Terminator on the cover of Metal Gear 1. You 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 expect this kind of score, wouldn't you
Well,
agree?
yes. I mean, I do. Like I said, when I'm playing a game, I don't mind it, and it works. In fact, it's usually really good. It's just I'm never going to listen to it outside that setting.
And I think I will. But again, it'd be rarely compared to the all the time that some of the other scores I have do. So let's go ahead and talk about the other sound on this album. And I wanna just go ahead and open this with um like Old Snake and Love Theme. They sound like Ennio Morricone
They do,
pieces,
and I really like Old Snake.
but not Love Theme.
No, and funny enough, Old Love Theme is Japanese composed.
Yes, it's one of the very few on here that's not from Henry Greg.
Yeah,
Yeah, Harry, not Henry, Harry Gregson-Williams.
and
Sorry.
it's not it's not the music that annoys me. It's the lady that's throughout the entire song.
Just kind of doing that big droning vocal, those very long,
Yeah,
drawn
I
out
mean, I
vowel sounds.
honestly, and it's not her fault. It's not that track's fault. I've never enjoyed those type of vocals. Like Light of Day, Day of Darkness by Green Carnation. There's that big
Oh,
long
don't
section.
compare that.
I
Don't
am
compare that.
because they are both doing essentially the same thing, and I find it annoying.
Yeah, I don't like that part either, but I like it more here. And I think it's because, for one, it doesn't break a 60-minute song in half to have this mediocre. Oh, God, that's actually one of the worst vocals I've heard ever. This one actually matches, and it's strained, and it's. I mean, I see what you're saying in terms of its like its execution, but this woman can actually sing. And I also, the thing I like about it is the violin there. That single violin sound, like recording on there, is just kind of like cutting through all of that. And it's, for me, it's got a lot of atmosphere to it. And I even remember how, I mean, that's how the game opens, as far as when you actually start playing the game in earnest, not, one of the various cutscenes that is actually filmed because they wanted to fool you with the power of the PS3. You remember all the egg cooking shots, I'm sure.
Yes.
Where's my egg cooking music soundtrack? Old Snake is very good, though. I will definitely agree with you. And this kind of picks back up at the track called Sorrow. This is track 13.
Yeah.
And it's more American cinema score than the Ennio Morricone music at the beginning. So let's give our wonderful listeners a sample. Go ahead and do it from Father and Son. By the way, we're going to go ahead and talk about this game as well with spoilers. So if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 4, and you had a PS3, shame on you. Unless you can't stand, unless you can't stand the writing, and then okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have spoilers
Yeah.
because it's past the date where we can say that it's horrible to have spoilers.
So I'm playing father and son.
Yes, go ahead and cue up Father and Son for us.
Okay. See, I really like that track.
It's beautiful.
It is.
Whenever you really break it down, Metal Gear Solid 4 is a very sad game.
It's very depressing.
And in a way it's absolutely beautiful. It's not a happy experience at all in terms of its story, but it's the ending that series needed. Like it's the ending the series really deserved, and I really hope that they don't ever go past that as far as the timeline's concerned,
I don't know
because
if
it's
they
a
are or not. I mean, even the didn't write and even that game didn't go past it. It was right
no,
before it, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure, although I haven't played it, partially because I tried the demo and I could not get my hands around the controls, says the person who played through Metal Gear 4, but because that game had weird controls, but they were perfect if you got used to them. It's but just in how the end, like to end a series like Metal Gear Solid, because Metal Gear Solid had the most insane plot you could
Oh
imagine,
yes, yeah. I mean,
and the fact that they made it even more cuckoo pants with Metal Gear Solid 2 forward. I mean, we're talking about a game, and at Metal Gear Solid 1, like, if you go back and play it now after having played all the other ones, you're like, wow, this is a really tightly written script in comparison.
no kidding.
But then, whenever Revolver Ocelot takes Liquid Snake's hand and grafts it onto his own, and Liquid Snake takes over Revolver Ocelot. I
Yeah,
mean,
but that technically that is revealed later on to him just acting. I mean, he really didn't quote unquote take over his body.
I know, but that was later. Like, but like when you first see that part, you're like, this is the most silly, cracked out game,
I was like,
and
we
I
have
love it.
gone beyond past the idea that we're trying to set a like believable setting, and have gone a little bit beyond that now. We're in this world where
We
this
are in
random
sci-fi
shit.
now.
Yeah, we are in sci-fi now.
We've gone past sci-fi. I mean, and this is in a series that had every game in this series has really silly stuff in it, and it's because Hideo Kojima has just completely insane sense of humor, and that's part of what I like about it. It's so weird, but for all of its insanity, for all of the like complete nonsense that was cooked up for this series over the course of 3 games, they had a lot to tackle and bring down to size for Metal Gear Solid 4. And I really think that they nailed it, considering what all they had to do.
I think they did.
They really closed it up nicely, and it's a great story, and the drama to it. Like, if you can get around the fact that they could have taken a set of pruning shears to that thing and made a more tightly written story, I don't know that they would have done service to the massive amount of story and character that the series has. And that's the key word there for me as far as Metal Gear Solid is concerned, is character. You can say that everything's a cliche, and frankly they are. You kind of like it that way. Like, at least for me, I really like the cast of the Metal Gear series because they're so interesting and everybody actually has meaning, and that's saying a lot for an action game, especially in the age of the Call of Duty game. I mean, how many Call of Duty games can you actually remember the name of any of the characters? And I swear, if you say one, I will be surprised.
I can't actually.
You play Guy McGuntoterson, and you're
Yeah,
just like,
pretty much.
slaughter the Nazis, slaughter the guys in the Middle East, uh, or slaughter the people in the German airport. I mean, you don't remember any of the character names because you don't remember any of them. You remember uh, Otacon because he's a nerd, and he's probably the most easily to associate with character for people playing this game.
Because he's the most
You
down
know
to earth character in this game.
that, and he's I mean he's like obsessed with Japanese culture, and you know what? Frankly, if you like Metal Gear Solid, you like a lot of Japan as well because there's a lot of Japan in this game. And I mean, there's just I mean, you remember him, you remember Snake obviously because of everything because you play as him, you see the story through his eyes. You remember you remember Colonel Campbell. I remember Colonel Campbell telling Raiden to about aliens and UFOs in Metal Gear Solid 2. It's memorable. Everything about this game is memorable. So having to at the time write the last game in the series, it needed gravity. The music, as you just showed, like Father and Son shows a lot of gravity because spoiler alert, I know, but actually bringing Snake and Big Boss together.
Again.
Yeah, actually bringing them together, not in a I'm going to kill you and I don't actually know that I'm cloned from you yet kind of way. That's excellent for me. I mean, I thought that that ending in that scene was so well earned. So it needed. I mean, this score actually really captivates the that sense of closure, and it captivates that. It really captivates the sorrow of what Snake's going through because he's old as crap. He's like breaking his hip on the battlefield.
Yes, he's old as
Or
crap, and technically, of course, at the point in time in the game that you know of, he is dying.
yep, and dying since Metal Gear Solid as well.
I
Because I
know.
mean,
Or
I
they
mean,
said we don't know how long you're going to live, but I guess apparently you're going to live a very long fucking time.
if I'm not mistaken, isn't the timeline for that only like 15 years or something like that?
Yeah, he ages really quickly. Whatever he has makes him age really badly.
Well, it's Fox die. He wasn't completely immune to it. I mean, how could you be immune to something that killed everybody else that had your same exact genetic code?
By giving you some type of weird um, nano machines that make you
Uh,
not sick of it anymore, like they did at the end of the game. Oh yeah, yeah, shocker! You're not going to die because you drank this soda, and in this soda was these nanites, and these nanites made you immune to the fox die. Now everyone else around you will still
they're
die.
screwed.
They'll still die, but not you. You'll be fine. That's why I love this
Oh,
series.
yes, me too. Let's talk about what this soundtrack lacked because Metal Gear Solid has some very distinct musical themes, like the actual Metal Gear theme, so to speak. I mean, there's actually a piece on there called Metal Gear Solid Saga, and it references and it pays homage to the actual Metal Gear Solid like big operatic theme music
Yeah.
from the very first game. But you don't have that song on here. You don't have the death song from Metal Gear Solid 1, but this is Metal Gear Solid 4, so that's just me wishing I had a Metal Gear 1 soundtrack. There's a lot of music that is it. I don't know if it's on the second disc. I would like to find out. That would make me buy the 2 disc version because I like this disc enough to do that. But because there's so much of the soundtrack spent on the big American action movie music, and then the other half of it is the dramatic music, I feel like we're missing some of the quieter moments that would be that were also in the game. Because if you really break it down, aside like taking out all the times that you die, or at least that's me, or screw up and whatnot, you don't spend that much time playing this game.
No, you spend a lot of time watching it.
You spend a lot of time watching cutscenes because that's a lot of this game. And frankly, I don't know how they could have told this story in gameplay. So,
It would have been a really, really long game.
yep. And
Or
it already is.
that, or they would never shut up.
They don't ever shut up.
But no. It's like as you're
Technically,
playing, they're constantly talking, because if they ever stopped talking, you would reach the end of the game before they finished the first sentence or the first
Oh my,
paragraph of
oh
dialogue.
my God. You know what? I just thought about this. What if they had the ghost the technology from Ghost in the Shell? You know, where nobody actually has to speak out loud, that they can communicate instantaneously without saying a word.
You know what's
Imagine
that
if
called? That's called, we can't dub this properly, so we're going to make everybody telepathic.
no, 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 that's actually part of the technology in
No, no,
Metal
no.
Gear.
I'm just
Not
saying
Metal
that's
Gear.
what they would
It's
use here. That would be my excuse for having something like that.
well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that made production cheaper for Ghost in the Shell, but like that was actually part of the setting in Ghost in the Shell. If that was in Metal Gear Solid, though, Snake and Otacon's bromance would just like never end. Like there would be no spot in the battlefield where Otacon's not giving him advice or like, "Hey, Snake, why don't you break out the Metal Gear unit that I gave you and like roll it out in the middle of the battlefield and see where everything is?" It's like, "Shut up! I'm hanging from a log right now." There's two guards passing me. They can't hear you. I don't care. You're breaking my concentration, and my legs are wrapped around a steel beam. Come on, guy. Now I think we're completely changing the point of our show to overthinking the game while referencing music. Let's talk about, getting back on track a little bit. In finishing up the fact that aside from like the tone of this record is very depressing, frankly. Um, there is one piece on here that's not written by Harry Gregson-Williams and is not actually a piece from the Japanese composers as well, and that's an actual Ennio Morricone piece called "Here's to You." I don't remember the movie that one came from. Do you have that on your screen?
Yeah, give me just a moment.
Uh,
Though it's not written by Harry Gregson, it is arranged by him.
well, yes,
That's
obviously.
that's 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 something.
Well, I
And
mean, obviously it wasn't because the actual original track is on Metal Gear Solid 5. It's actually one of the tapes you get when you finish the game the first time.
yes,
Nerd.
that is the name of the movie.
What's that?
I posted it on your Facebook.
Oh, are you asking me to pronounce it?
I am. I am not a linguist. I cannot pronounce foreign words.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that's why I forgot it because it's actually in Italian. Let's see. Did this movie ever make it to the States before I try and pronounce this? No, it did not. Oh, wow. Well, guys, I am sorry. If you're listening to this and you're actually from Italy or of Italian descent, I am so sorry about what I'm about to do to your ears. This film is called Sacco e Vanzetti.
Sounds pretty good to me. Sounds very Italian.
I tried, which is a 1971 Italian docudrama. And the song was composed by Ennio Morricone and sung by Joan Baez.
If I'm not mistaken, is that you get a version of that person singing in the Ground
Elizabeth Scott.
Zeroes.
I think. Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. Is that's the actual track? That's actually the original track in Ground Zeroes.
Okay, because it works a lot better. Because in that one, it actually worked really well.
It's a very actually. I think it's a little bit. I thought it was so strange how it popped out in that one. This one it has that slow strings and orchestral vibe that match the rest of the music,
It does.
and I think it blends better into the actual score. But I'm glad that it was in Metal Gear Solid 5 because it gives it goes back to that idea that um brain come back to me that that the series is actually well connected. Like there's an interconnection between all the different games. There's a lot of consistency, not technology wise, now that the iDroid is in Metal Gear 5, but the oh, yeah, the iDroid kills me. Hey, Snake, you know that in 2009 or whatever, whenever Metal Gear Solid 1 takes place, you had to use all this, like, you didn't have any of this lovely technology? Well, your dad did 30 years ago in the middle of Africa.
Well, if you could say it takes after Star Wars,
You know what? But Star Wars, they you know what? Here's my defense for the Star Wars argument: is we step off of track again. By the way, unless we pay for that Podbean service, we're never going to get audio tracks on there because we rant and ramble and sidetrack way too much. My defense of the Star Wars argument is that the reason why you didn't see the quote unquote better technology after the prequel trilogy is that the rebellion was really poor.
What
They
about the
had
Empire?
they had really good technology. They had the power to blow up a planet.
Yeah, they
It's
had
just,
little fighters that blew up in one hit.
you know what? That's because of the Empire valued the speed of the Tie Fighter rather than the shield strength of the Tie Fighter. That's actually canon, or it was before Disney got involved. We don't know what the excuse is anymore, but that's the excuse that's in the X-wing novels.
I call that made up bullshit to cover up the fact that technology was clearly different.
Well, the filmmaking technology was, but no, actually, the Tie Fighter is a very fast ship, and the only difference, and the fact is, the X-wing is more maneuverable, where the Tie Fighter is faster. And we're in a completely different series. We need to get this back to Metal Gear. But that's a terrible excuse for the iDroid. The iDroid is a cell phone. That's so unforgivable. Especially considering all the advertisements for Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes
Hmm.
where they were like, welcome to 1975, and it's got all these things from 1975 in it. And then Solid Snake, I mean, well, Big Boss, and it's like, okay, that's awesome. And then you see the iDroid. It's like, I want to know where I'm pretty sure that my dad didn't have an iDroid when he was growing up. It's military grade technology. No,
No.
bite me. um, I kind of wish I had a copy of the Here's to You from Metal Gear Solid 5, but we don't.
No, I don't.
The In a sense, the only thing I can really say negative about this score is that it is like the American action movie parts. They're competently penned. They are enjoyable in their own right. They match the gameplay very well, but it makes the album significantly less exciting to talk about because all those tracks kind of sound the same. They all have the same aesthetic.
So
Short bursts
you,
of string.
yeah, so you pretty much have the same mindset I was when listening through this soundtrack before we jumped on here. I was thinking, this same song's been going on for a while now.
Well, I mean, they're different, but they have the same aesthetic. They have all of that same exact sounding, electronic percussion. They have this very short bursts of string and horns, and it's all, like it's all. It doesn't have a full soundscape because it's
No,
trying to do the American action movie thing,
and
and it
you
does
know
it
what
very well.
it does, and
But
you know what else? The only problem I have is that the songs themselves are sort of repetitive. Like, I know in most scores the songs are repetitive; they repeat, certain parts over again. But I find it really noticeable on this soundtrack. Like, I can listen, say if a song is 4 minutes, I can listen to 2 minutes and have heard everything that song pretty much has to offer, and can just switch to the next song because I'm not going to get anything new besides just listening to that first 2 minutes over again.
I don't know if it's that bad.
No, there are
But
some of those
that's just
tracks that are
me
that
again, though.
bad. I mean, I find that a lot of tracks are like that because I can every now and then the end of the song will go into a different path than the way that the song began. But for the most part, I find that the tracks are very noticeable, repetitive. Like it's just there's not going to be a whole lot of change within the song.
Fair enough. I mean, but again, it's not a bad score. It
No,
really is not a bad score. It's actually an exceptional score for for the sake of the video game part of it. It's a great score. For the having the soundtrack on CD part, it could be better. and I would really like to get my hands on a copy of the 2 disc version
which
and
is a
see how
lot
that
better.
one's. I would like to see how that one's constructed as an overall piece, as an overall score, and have that be my deciding factor on just how great the overall score of this game is as an album. Because as a game score, it's a fantastic score. There's it has a lot of music that actually matches the tone of the story, and it's not all about the action parts of the game, which is the case for. And here's a preview to our next episode. Unlike the Bioshock score, because pretty much all of the Bioshock score, save for a few tracks, is very much about the action because the story was actually told within the game, so you don't get as much of the specific storytelling section music like you
Yeah.
do with this score. So I think we can move towards recommendations.
Mm,
Now, if you wanted to get this disc specifically and you wanted to buy it the way that we have it, you would have to get the collector's edition of Metal Gear Solid 4.
uh-huh.
And in that right, you would get an excellent game. That is also now $10 or something like that at GameStop. So maybe that part is not as exciting to you. The special edition, when I got my copy, it was $40, but
Oh
I
yeah.
just saw it. I just saw it for 25 at Edward McKay in Raleigh.
Jeez. I think
So
I bought mine when it originally came out, so I paid full price.
I thought you got yours used at GameStop though.
No, mine was brand new. The only reason why you would think it was used is because it was the floor copy, aka it's they
Ah,
fucking opened it and sold it as new, even though it's
uh-huh.
fucking used because you fucking opened it.
Well, that's GameStop, sadly. Although that's not always true. Like I got my copy of Ease untouched. So no, that's the kind of price you're gonna be paying. You're gonna be paying somewhere between $20 and $50 at this point to get this set. Now that's not all it comes with. It comes with the a lovely slipcase with like a metal front for the
Yeah,
art, which is awesome in its own right. And inside that is of course the game and the soundtrack and a documentary disc, which I haven't watched the documentary disc. So the CD and the documentary disc are in their own case, and I haven't watched that yet. I'd really like to because Hideo Kojima is nuts and absolutely wonderfully insane. Like if you've ever read, there's a document online describing his pitch basically for Metal Gear Solid 2's story. I've never in my life read something that dense for a video game. Like he wasn't discussing specific gameplay things. He was discussing themes, social, cultural, and technological ideas that he wanted to implement into the story. So if you ever read this, like if you really want to get an idea of just what goes into Hideo Kojima's work, read this thing. It's on the Metal Gear Solid Wikipedia, and it's bafflingly huge. I don't even know how this guy was able to get all of this stuff into a single story. Like if you want to talk about how much it needs to be edited down, and frankly it does. This is kind of a sign of why it is so big. So for me, I would recommend this score just for people who like the American action movie scores that we've been getting for the past like 15 years or so. I mean, this specific style of score is kind of came in with like the Bourne Identity and some of the lesser action movies of the late 90s, which is what Harry Gregson-Williams is known for,
hmm
prior to working on Metal Gear, because that's the kind of movies he scored. But it's that specific sound, that very electronic sounding percussion, that very rapid paced percussion, and the short bursts of strings and horns. And that's really all you can say. It's like there's not much in the way of melody very often, and whenever he does have melody in here, he actually has really great sense of melody, and it matches the tone of this game.
I agree.
But without that, it's kind of average. So I like the score, but at the same time, I'd have to be in a very specific mood to listen to the whole thing rather than the tracks that I really like that are the more dramatic pieces. So I personally would really like to get my hands on the 2 disc and give that a full listen at some point.
Mm, yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it.
Except you
Um,
don't like, except
I
you're not a fan of the electronic drums and stuff.
I like I said, I would never listen to it all by itself. Um, I have listened to the two disc before, and I do like that one a lot. I like that one a lot more because it is broken up a little more with the other tracks. In that case, it's not so bad. But otherwise, just this one, I'm glad I own it. I love the set. I love the game. I get this. I get a soundtrack with it. Awesome. But I probably won't pop it in all that often. If I want to play it or listen to it, I'll probably pop in the game instead.
which I would, which I kind of need to do. I have only played through it once, and that's been years. Would you? Here's a question, and do you think that if this had the same build as you just mentioned that the 2 disc version is built more like, for example, the Silent Hill Shattered Memory score, where you have kind of like, you know, ups and downs in the progression of the score.
Hmm.
So it is built more like that. Then I really should track down a copy of that.
A little bit. A lot of what you get is which the Japanese composed a lot of the boss music, like when you fight the special people.
the the Beauty and the Beast unit.
Yeah,
Isn't that what they
stuff.
were called?
Yeah,
It's been a while.
the female
Yeah, the little
assassins.
Asian girls inside the giant
Yeah,
monster
like
machines.
Laughing Octopus and stuff like that. Raging Raven. They composed those tracks.
Okay.
So they definitely add a little bit of up and down in the fact that it's it's weird to listen to, kind of like in the vein of Silent Hill. It's very sound effects more than just straightforward music.
Right.
So it does definitely add a dynamic to the soundtrack overall.
I got you. All right. Well, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots Tactical Espionage Action. Oh my god, what a giant name. I know Technical Espionage Action is not actually part of the name. I'm just being a jerk. Well, that has been this has been another installment of the Cosmic Concerto. We should finish up the way we did the last time before we forget, since this is a thing now. What games are you playing lately?
Uh, I've been playing Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga. Yeah, there you go.
I've been playing The Witcher.
Good game.
I've I've played about half of Parasite Eve. I need to finish that since this is my second run on it, and I didn't even finish the first time because I ruined my run. I've also been playing Fallout New Vegas a bit in the past couple of days, and I'm liking that more than I thought I would.
I thoroughly enjoyed that one. I was able to get through all of it, which is more than I could ever say for Fallout 3.
The thing from a musical perspective, I absolutely love shooting giant scorpions while listening to Dean Martin. That's that's a wonderful thing. Oh, excuse me. I don't shoot those. I chop those up with the machete. That's that's a very special kind of WTF material right there. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening because
Yep.
we don't have a video component just yet.
Yes, and I promise we won't have another Konami episode for a little bit.
We hope. I don't know that
Because
I have another Konami. Oh, I do have a couple
I'm
more.
sure we do, and we have done a number. We've done what? This is our third one.
Yeah, this is our third in a row. This is the fourth episode of the show, not counting the mini episode that released prior to this one. And this is the fourth Konami score that we've covered.
Woo!
Uh, since we're going to go ahead and for our fifth episode, for our fifth full length episode, and this is the reason why you should all get excited. We are reviewing the Bioshock vinyl soundtrack that came with Bioshock 2. This is kind of our special thing to say, yay, we made it to 5 episodes. And we thank everybody who's been watching, well, listening so far. We really hope to actually get a video component in so we can say watching again and it not sound stupid. And that's all going to come with time and the like. If if you are enjoying the show, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at the Cosmic Concerto. Brandon, is that the actual listings for both of those?
It should be. I don't know why it shouldn't be.
Here's a better idea, everybody. Why don't you just scroll down a little bit and the link's right there?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Even if you hate us, still comment, subscribe.
Right, because if we don't get your hate mail, how will we know how to improve/ignore you?
Or you can
All
end
right.
up making us cry. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. I'm easily offended. Which is why that writer gig is really a bad idea, right? All right, everybody. Thank you again for listening. We really appreciate your continued support. If you're a previous listener and if this is your first time, we're glad to have you. Thanks a lot. And we're gonna roll out here now. Brandon, why don't you play us off with a little "Here's to You"?
Oh boy. Okay, here we go. See you later, everybody.
Good night.